Hi everyone, John here from LookSmart Home Inspections right here in New Jersey. And today I want to talk to you about the importance of doing a walkthrough, or what we would call a pre-settlement inspection. So what is a walkthrough? A walkthrough is when, before you close on the house, guys, 1 or 2 days before, you go into the home to determine if conditions are the same or have conditions changed over since you saw the house last. Now, we probably did your home inspection, I don't know, 30 or 40 days ago, right? So things sometimes change in a house, and sellers being sellers, sometimes they don't leave what they're supposed to leave in the home. And this is your opportunity to bring those issues to light before the home actually becomes your house. And I tell you what, this is not just going into a home, with your hands in your pockets, whistling, looking around for 5 minutes and saying that everything is okay. This process is actually hands on. So I want you to go in there and actually do some work. I mean, you're spending a lot of money on a house, maybe 700, 800,000, $1 million on a home here in New Jersey. And these are not mansions. These are just regular houses, what you and I would call, pretty standard, right? It's crazy. So I actually want you to do some things. I want you to turn the heat on. I want you to test the air conditioning unit if the temperatures are warm enough outside. I want you to open some windows, right? I want you to test the appliances and make sure they're working. I want you to flush the toilets in the home. I want you to run the hot water. I want you to see if the fixtures drain, sinks, showers, and tubs. Do they drain? Are there any problems? I want you to look at the walls and the ceilings to make sure that there's no water staining or any conditions have changed from when you were there, maybe a month previous to this point. I want you to go to the basement and I want you to look around. Is everything looking the same? Make sure that there's no odd odors. You don't see any additional water staining and, stains on the carpeting or damaged flooring. All of these are signs and issues that you have to be aware of and bring to light before you close on the house. This is the purpose of a walkthrough or a pre-settlement inspection. I want you to go up to the attic if you're able to. If there's a walk-up attic, by all means. If there's a pull-down ladder, by all means. Put your head up in the attic. Shine your flashlight around. Take a look. Does anything look odd? Anything wet? Anything look moldy? Anything going on? It's really important stuff. So I want you to do that. And also, a walkthrough is a time, if you had the seller perform any repairs on the house, sometimes a walkthrough is a time to look at those things, to kind of reconcile and, has the seller replace this trim or this window that was broken or had a seal that was broken? Is that replaced? Things that you as a buyer can do. Now, you can hire a home inspector to do this, but it's not really necessary. I mean, these are things that are relatively easy for a buyer to do. And you can certainly hire a home inspector if you wanted to do that. But it's not 100% necessary for sure. But don't forego that. I've seen in homes where sellers have taken chandeliers out and then you close on the home and then it's not there. And guess what? You already own the home. I've seen a generator taken out of a house, right? That's crazy stuff. So things, people do odd things when it comes to money. And, they're not all on the up and up, and they all, are not, they don't have the utmost integrity, right? We're dealing with people, right? You never know what's going to happen. So I just want you to be aware of these things. Doing a pre-settlement inspection and a walkthrough is really important. So my advice to you as a buyer, don't forego that. Because if you forego that, and I've seen customers do that, and then they're disappointed. So don't do that. I mean, it's really a piece of due diligence that you really need to do. And if you can't do it yourself, then hire a home inspector to do it. But I do think you can do it yourself. So I'm urging you, don't let anybody talk you out of doing a walkthrough. It's been 30 or 40 days. Go into the house with a flashlight, look around, test the components in the home, and make sure that no conditions have changed since the last time you were there. Super important, guys. Okay, let's talk a little bit about inaccessible areas in a home. So what is an inaccessible area? It's simply an area that a home inspector cannot enter, traverse, view, see, inspect, that type of thing. So take, for example, a crawl space that's under a house. There's no outside hatch. There's no inside access. That area there would be called inaccessible. And here in New Jersey, we have to document these inaccessible areas because it's important, because if we can't see it, we can't report it, right? We can't tell you what the problems are in these spaces. So how you guys can help when you purchase a home is to understand the layout of that house. And are there inaccessible areas that your home inspector is going to have trouble entering or inspecting? This could be that, there's no attic access, or the attic access is blocked with, a closet full of storage, or the basement interior foundation walls are full of, they have storage and shelving and you just can't see them. Or take, for example, an electrical panel box that's covered with shelving or some other, storage that the home inspector just is not able to remove, so he or she can look at that, whatever that component is. So this is important to understand this, because you have to make sure that the areas in the home are fully accessible to the extent that they can be made accessible. Now, some areas are just not accessible. Like take, for example, that crawl space that I was talking about. If there's no access to the crawl space at all, and that happens, the seller is probably not going to cut a hole in the floor or cut a hole in the foundation wall to allow your home inspector to get access to that crawl space. So then, you have a decision to make. You have a business decision to make. Am I going to go ahead and purchase this home? Am I okay with these open-ended risks? So it's crucially important to talk to the seller and to talk to your agent. And this is probably going to be a conversation that you're going to have with your agent, who then in turn will talk to the selling agent or the seller's agent or the seller directly. I guess it depends on the situation. But you as a buyer have some responsibility. You have to make sure that the areas of the home that are inaccessible are made accessible so your home inspector can properly do your inspection and report on those issues. Because you don't want delays, you don't want any delays, you don't want any additional expenditures. Because if the home inspector is not able to see these issues on the, when they're actually doing the home inspection, they're going to report that. Your attorney is going to say, hey, what about these areas that the home inspector, can't see? How are we going to deal with those? And then, you're likely to call the home inspector back. The home inspector, may return to the home to view those areas once they are made accessible. Or, sometimes home inspectors do charge for going back. Not a full home inspection price, but their time and effort and, gas and miles are valuable too. So it's just going to cost you additional money, and it's going to slow down you closing on the home and the whole inspection process, because you're going to have these undefined areas, and we don't know if there's any issues that exist in these inaccessible areas. So my advice is to understand your house that you're buying, and to understand if there are going to be some difficult areas for your home inspector to get into, and to address those with the seller before your home inspector actually does the home inspection. You're going to be saving yourself a lot of time and aggravation, and you're going to quicken the sale of the house or your purchase of the home, and you might even save yourself some money and aggravation as well. So make sure those inaccessible areas are made accessible before your home inspection takes place. I'm in an interior of a garage, and when you see these lines running with the grain in wood like this, that's generally speaking termite activity. And if we look in here, we're loaded with termites. You see these lines right here? If you have wood in your garage or your house, especially in the basement, and it's running with the grain like this. You see how soft that wood is? That's termite damage here. So obviously, the garage has to be treated for termites. But, this is something that you guys can look at in your own home. Know what termite damage, looks like. If we look over here, we see a little bit more, and we're really got a lot of termite damage in this, garage walls. So I'm going to check the sill plate now and see if there's, damage to the sill plate. Generally speaking, when we see the termite damage a couple feet up the wall in the garage, we're going to have damage to the studs and damage to the sill plate down here as well. So look for that. Same garage, and you see this termite mud, and it's running all the way up the wall stud right here, right? So our termites have gotten all the way up here, eaten all of this. And so this is a significant problem here. These termites, more termite damage here, have been here for years. And termites can eat about 2 feet of 2x4 a year. And given that information, you can see how long the termites have been in this garage unabated. They've just been going to town feasting on this garage. So this is probably one of the worst ones I've seen in quite a while. And, we'll have to assess the structure to see if this is still even a viable structure at this point. But termites can cause a heck of a lot of damage, and you guys should be on the lookout for any kind of issues like this in your own homes. When we see this type of discoloration on drywall in the basement, this is generally a mold right here. And you don't have to have a direct water source to have mold in the basement. We can have an indirect source of moisture, such as just general humidity in the home. So we don't have to have flooding to have this. We just need the right conditions that are conducive to mold growth, which is high moisture, and a food source, which is the drywall. So this is probably a mold right here. We're going to take a look and see if our client wants to do a test on it to just confirm that. But this is likely to be a mold called cladosporium, which we see often on this type of drywall in the basement and also in foundation walls when high moisture conditions exist. You think we ever had water in a house? I think we've had water in a house, right? Look at this. Look at this. Mold, water damage, water staining. So this is a problem, obviously, evidence of water coming in the home. Well, if there's a clinic that indicates how not to install a vent pipe from a water heater, this is probably it. Doesn't penetrate far enough into the chimney thimble. We have these wide gaps where carbon monoxide is going to come through. It's all loose. This is how you go to bed one night and not wake up. So this is a significant safety issue here and indicates non-professional work, and this needs immediate correction. Hey, everything is going to be okay, because if we butcher our ventilation here, 2 feet over to the left, we can put a carbon monoxide detector and everything is going to be all right. Here we have some vermiculite insulation, and you can see that the HVAC contractors have disturbed it. This insulation is known at times to contain asbestos materials. Some vermiculite does contain asbestos, and other vermiculite from different mines may not contain asbestos. So it's really important to test this material if you're looking at a home that has this material in it, or you have a house that has this material in it. And it gives this sort of this pebble-like appearance It's gold in color, it's kind of silver in color, brown in color. You can see here a big pile next to this flexible ductwork that's been really disturbed. And generally this asbestos is highly friable and really unsafe if it is disturbed. So this is something you want to be aware of, and definitely test it if you're thinking about buying a home with this material. And here we have a driveway with a significant slope down to the garage. And it's really important that we have some type of drain system here. Here we have a drain system, but in the fall you really have to make sure that you keep this drain free-flowing and unobstructed. And also when you have a driveway like this, not only you have to deal with water, it's challenging in the winter months also, because the driveway apron, which is the front of the driveway, is very high. So you really have to be careful when pulling a car or backing a car out of this